What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the ever-charming Dr. Disaster, and one of the most satisfying things is when someone is arguing with you and you catch them being liars and hypocrites.
He's full of shit!
The original Last of Us game was one of the most iconic and influential titles to have come out in the past couple decades, arguably Naughty Dog's crowning achievement. Joel and Ellie were some of the most beloved characters in gaming history, instant classics, so when the sequel came out and we were given the old bait and switch with Joel getting clubbed to death by Abby and then replaced by this character, the angry embodiment of modern feminism, well, gamers were understandably pretty pissed off about it, though Naughty Dog refused to engage.
Hold it! What the hell is that shit?
Silence!
Gamers collectively rolled their eyes at this development. It was painfully obvious that there was an agenda behind this change. Joel had to go because they needed to replace him with female characters. The game was developed during the decade of the 2010s, when wokeness was on the rise, and the game released in 2020, at the height of the power of progressive political shit. But when we pointed out how, narratively speaking, it was ludicrous that Joel was killed by a big, hulking woman like this and ultimately replaced by her, since the game forced you to use her in segments, when we pointed out how insulting and transparent the agenda was, the Naughty Dog simps argued that actually this all made perfect sense, and in fact, it's the only way. The big, hulking body of Abby was the only way that she could be, since she was a woman survivor in a zombie apocalypse hellscape. Well, now that the TV show for The Last of Us is ramping up production for the second season, which will depict the events of the second game, they just announced the casting choice for Abby, and it's this person here, which is wild because she looks like an actual woman. She doesn't have the arms, shoulders, or chest of an NFL linebacker, and immediately these same Naughty Dog simps defended the casting choice using a variety of mental gymnastics. But possibly the most interesting part of this whole affair is Neil Druckmann, the man who has run Naughty Dog into the ground. He made the claim that he and his studio pander to no one, and he's about half right. You see, there were rumblings of some people complaining that this casting choice was meant to pander to normal people who don't care for Abby, the gender bender, and I believe him when he says he didn't pander to regular people. He only panders to progressive shitheads. Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet is a prime example of this, but let's be real here. The real reason they went with this noodle-armed girl here is because they couldn't find an actual woman who looks like Abby who could actually play the role. This adds more credence to the suspicion that gamers have had about the character of Abby all along.
That ain't no woman. It's a man.
Alright me hearties, make sure you smash the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. But anyhow, yeah, I definitely think Druckmann is correct when he says that the casting of Abby in Season 2 of The Last of Us show was not pandering. That dude would not cast a feminine-looking female for a role in his show unless he absolutely had to. If anything, his commentary, the fact that he was so quick to distance he and his studio from gamers who despised Abby when the game came out, when The Last of Us 2 came out, this reaffirms my thoughts that Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet is absolutely doomed. The headspace of Druckmann is such that the people he really wants to impress are the other activistic game developers and the game journalists, people like that. He does not care about making gamers happy. But it really must have stung for him to have to cast this small woman as Abby. This image has been making the rounds on social media. It's pretty funny. It says, "Spend years defending Abby's realistic, post-apocalyptic, muscular body, say her body was necessary for the plot, and even buff her more after her first teaser. Can't find any girl with Abby's body for live action, so he has to use a noodle-armed girl to play her. Ha ha, F you Neil." But let's read about what the guy actually had to say in this article from That Park Place, link in the description. Here the article says, "The Last of Us series, both the game and its live-action adaptation, have been a controversial topic for quite a while, that mainly centered around developer Naughty Dog dismissing fans' concerns regarding Part 2 and copyright-striking YouTube videos on the subject, as well as the disgraceful death of beloved character Joel in favor of the divisive character of Abby." And then the article talks for a bit about how they have plans already to go beyond Season 2 in the show, meaning they'll be making original content since they will have exceeded the source material of the games. But we're going to skip down to here where it says, "Additionally, Abby, the character who's supposed to kill Joel, has also undergone some changes for the show. For instance, it appears she won't have a masculine physique like in the game. In The Last of Us Part 2, she is depicted as having a bodybuilder's torso, complete with broad shoulders and huge arms. The series' co-showrunner, Craig Mazin, explained this by stating, "I personally think that there is an amazing opportunity here to delve into someone who is perhaps physically more vulnerable than the Abby in the game, but whose spirit is stronger. And then the question is, where does her formidable nature come from, and how does it manifest? That's something that will be explored now and later." In the interview, Neil Druckmann gave his thoughts on changes to the story, dropping a few hints on what he has in store. Druckmann is more aware of the controversy around The Last of Us than anyone. In fact, he was more or less at the center of it. Oddly, he doesn't seem bothered by it at all in the interview. Rather, it seems he tried to paint himself as the hero. "Our brand is that we pander to no one," he said. "We do what's best for the story, and whatever happens, happens. There's a very particular story we wanted to tell, and we stuck to our guns." And this is actually very revealing. He's clearly full of shit when he says they pander to nobody. He and his studio went along with the rest of the industry and all the trends that were happening back in the 2010s and in 2020, and they replaced their male protagonist with a girl boss. This is not just some kind of coincidence that all of these studios did the same thing at the same time. These people clearly pander over at Naughty Dog, just not to normal dudes who play games. And, in his words, they have particular stories they want to tell. This tracks with what we have been saying all along, that The Last of Us 2 had a bit of an allegorical feel to it, where Abby symbolically beat the male lead character to death for no damn good reason, leading the females in the story to take over the lead roles of the game. This was a perfect symbol of all the girl boss characters that have been replacing males in entertainment for the past decade or so. I believe this dude when he says that they had a particular story to tell and that they were going to tell it no matter what. They were going to fit the square peg into the round hole no matter how much it damaged their relationship with the gamers. And they certainly didn't mind becoming iconoclasts and tearing down Joel in order to push that story. And I'll give them this, The Last of Us 2 did sell pretty well back in 2020 when the world was a very different place. The cultural, automatic intake of the average gamer had not yet been defeated. The spell had not yet been broken, but it has now. Gamers have banded together to demand a better product, and it will be very interesting to see how Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet fares when it releases in the next few years. That is a game that does not have a famous IP attached to it in order to help it sell. It only has the Naughty Dog affiliation. And if the reaction to the trailer of this game, where it was ratioed into oblivion, if that reaction is anything to go by, the game is screwed with a capital S. Druckmann has made it clear that he is not pandering to normal gamers in The Last of Us, which means he certainly won't do it in Intergalactic. I think that game is absolutely toast, but I'm going to leave it there. Drop your contempt for this ridiculous studio into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching me, Hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.